Welcome everyone to our Pesach Shiur. This is the order of the Seder, and tonight we are going to be speaking about Tzafun. Tzafun, comes at the end of the Seder, and interestingly enough, I actually, in preparing for this shiur, I took out all my, not all, because I have a lot, but a number of Haggadot, and I wanted to see, about Tzafun. And you get to the page of Tzafun, and it says, eat the matzah. Or it says, Zecher lekorban Pesach. And there really isn't a lot, at least in the Haggadot that I was looking through. There wasn't a lot there, and I think it's really interesting to think about. I think that there's a significance given to the things we do at the beginning of the Seder. We have kiddush, and then we wash hands, and then we break the matzah, and then we have karpas. That was out of order. Sorry, it's just a test. And then when we get to Magid, there's a lot that everyone has to say. But interestingly, once we get to the food, I think it's definitely for the kids. It's about getting to the food, and once we get to the food, it's kind of like, the end of the roller coaster ride, and everyone's like, okay, let's go. And I think this is really, at least for me, this was really an important opportunity to really think about what is the significance of Tzafun. What does Tzafun even mean? Why do we eat the afikoman? What does it symbolize? What is it meant for me what am I meant to think about other than, I'm full and now I have to eat more matzah? What really is going on? And as I said, I think that many times, it's usually late at night. Most of our seders go pretty late. We're looking at our watches. If you're the type that is very concerned about finishing the afikomen at a certain time. So maybe actually let's begin with that. So I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. So I'm going to share, this is these are some of the sources we're going to be discussing today. If anybody has any, you can put it in the chat box. I'm happy to I'll leave some time at the end for us to discuss any questions or comments that you have. So first, let's first define some terms. Okay, the word tzafun literally means hidden, and we're going to talk about what that means. What is the significance of that? And in tzafun, we eat the afikoman. Now, the word afikoman actually literally means dessert. As you can see here, source number 1, it says in the Gemara in Masachet Pesachim, actually in the Mishnah in Masachet Pesachim, it says, Ein maftirim achar haPesach afikoman. You are not allowed to eat after you eat the Pesach. Right here, Pesach is not the holiday, but it is the Korban Pesach. So after you eat the Korban Pesach, you are not allowed to eat the afikoman or en afikoman. Now this can be confusing because it is exactly what we eat at the end of our meal. So we have to recognize that here, what we're talking about is that when in the days of the temple, in the days of the Beit HaMikdash, you ate the Pesach sacrifice, the meat, at the end of the meal. And after that, you were not allowed to have any sort of dessert. So there was no chocolate cake, there was no dates, there was no fruit. You were not allowed to eat a dessert after you ate the Korban Pesach. And then the Gemara says to us, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. It says, sorry, 1 second. It says, Ein maftirim achar matzah afikoman. Right, and here the Koran Gemara explains that right nowadays when we don't have the Korban Pesach, so after we eat the matzah, which we call afikoman, you are not allowed to eat an afikoman, right? Which again is confusing, but what it means in the Gemara is that once you eat afikoman, meaning the matzah, you're not allowed to eat anything after that. And I remember as a kid, this was something that was, very stressful, even though you just ate, a million things and you just had dinner and you did have dessert and now you're having matzah and then all of a sudden they tell you you can't eat anything else. And of course, definitely as a child, but probably also as an adult, as soon as someone says you're not allowed to eat something, that's exactly when you want it, right? So after you eat the matzah, you're like, oh, my mouth is so dry. I wish I could have that chocolate cake that we just had, or I wish I could have some more chicken soup, or whatever it is, right? And actually, right, source number 2, the Shulchan Aruch, right, the halacha is that la'achar gemar kol ha'seuda, right, after you eat the entire meal at Seder night, ochlim mimatzah shmura tachat hamapa kezayit kol echad. Right, so after you eat your meal, you're going to have an olive's worth of matzah, right? Matzah, shura matzah, right? Which is our special matzah for Seder night. Right? Every person is supposed to have a kazayit of this matzah. Why do we have this matzah? Zecher lepesach hanechal al hasova. Right? This is to remind us of the sacrifice that we eat, that we used to eat, right? After we used to eat the Korban Pesach, and now because we don't have the Korban Pesach, we are going to eat this piece of matzah, and it is to remind us of the Korban, of the sacrifice that was given on Pesach, right? And it is eaten al hasova, which means it's eaten when we are full, right? We do not eat the Korban Pesach was not dinner. It was eaten after dinner, right? What we would call dessert. Once you're full, that's when you eat it, and you eat it when you are reclining, and you have to be careful that you eat it before chatzot, right? We have to make sure that we eat it before midnight. Now, midnight in the halachic sense, it does not mean 12 a.m. It's usually a little bit later. And at this point in the Seder, this is when people start looking at their watches, right? And they say, oh my gosh, it's 10 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock, it's 12 o'clock, it's 12:01, it's 12:10. Hurry up, we have to eat the afikoman, right? So one point to recognize from the Shulchan Aruch and from the Gemara is that eating the afikoman, eating the matzah at the end of the meant to remind us of eating the Korban Pesach that they ate in the time of the temple, and also, right, in the time when they were still in Egypt. We're supposed to remember that Korban that they ate, and how do we remember it? By eating the afikoman. So that is number 1, right? So it is there to remind us of the Korban Pesach. We are not allowed, right, to eat afterwards. Right, again, source number 3, right, the Shulchan Aruch says, right, achar afikoman ein le'echol shum davar, right, you are not supposed to eat anything after the afikoman. So we want to understand what does this mean, right? Why are we not allowed to eat anything afterwards? And here, the idea is that we are supposed to be left with this lingering taste of, now again, for now, it's matzah. But in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, in the time of the temple, it's meant to be the taste of the sacrifice, the taste of the Korban Pesach. That was the symbol of the night, and that is what we're supposed to be left with, right? And here, source number 4, the Mishnah Berurah tells us that it says we're supposed to have a kazait, right, an olive's worth, and he says, really, you should eat 2 olives worth. Why? 1 to remember the Korban Pesach, and 1 to remember the matzah that was eaten with it. So as you can see, again, from a halachic perspective, we're eating matzah at the end of the meal. It's supposed to remind us of the meat that they ate that was the Korban Pesach, the sacrifice of Pesach. But also, right here, the Mishnah Berurah adds, maybe you should eat another olive's worth to remind us of the matzah that they ate with the sacrifice, right? And that's something that we do actually before the meal, right? We talk about al matzot umirorim yochluhu. They would eat the sacrifice, they would eat the meat together with matzah and maror, which is something that we eat in the beginning of the night as well. Now, right, those of you who grew up, I think, in a either religious home, a traditional home, there is a tradition or a custom that children would, right, again, from the beginning, if you've been in this series for a while, if you remember, before Magid, we broke the matzah, right, we broke the middle matzah in half, and that matzah, right, that half a matzah was stolen by the children and is hidden. Some families, the children hide it. Some families, the adults hide it, and the children have to find it. But there is some sort of hide and go seek that happens at the Seder. And the question is, what's going on? Why is this? I think it also has become commercialized. I know in many homes, there's usually some sort of negotiation that happens at the Seder, where, let's say, the adults, either the adult hides it, the children find it, and then they kind of hold it for ransom for the adult to tell them, right, what reward are they going to get if they return the afikomen, or vice versa, right? The children hide it and the parents have to find it. But there's something about hiding and finding. Again, from the word tzafun, tzafun means hidden. So there's something about the afikomen that is, or that becomes hidden, and then it is found. And again, the question is, what is the symbolism? Why are we hiding things? Why are we finding things? What is the purpose? And I think the I would say the pshat, the simple understanding is it's, as we say for many things on Seder night, it's to get the children involved. Something that is very important about Seder night is that we feel that it's very important for everyone at the table to feel invested in this night, right? So if you have, I don't know, 10 children at the table, grandchildren or neighbors, right? If you have people of all ages at the table, if you're just reading from your Haggadah, no, right? So-and-so said, that on one hand, you've fulfilled an obligation of reading the text, but really you have, I would say, missed an opportunity right? The entire night of Pesach, of Leil HaSeder, is meant to be experiential. We do so many things, again, on different levels, whether it's for the adults in the room, whether it's for the children in the room. It is so important to involve everybody, right? Which is why we begin the Haggadah with the 4 questions, right? With Manishtana, right? Did you ever wonder why is it that the youngest person at the table says the Manishtana, right? The idea is that everyone should feel involved. Everyone should feel like they're a part of this experience. So for Tzafun, for hiding the Afikoman, this is an amazing, right, adventure where everyone gets up off the table and goes and looks and hides. I've been at Seders, or my children, that tend to hide and re-hide, and then find and then hide again. It becomes something that, kind of like the original escape room. Oh, that's funny. I just thought of that, right? We are escaping from Egypt, but it really is something that gets so many people involved. So that, I would say, is on the most basic level. What I'd like to discuss tonight is to try to think about what is the deeper level. What is the symbolism behind this hide and go seek, this treasure hunt that we are involved in on Seder night? So one idea, and don't forget, the entire night, the theme of the entire night is slavery, exile, and then redemption. And one idea is that the concept of exile and redemption is something that at first it is hidden for us, but then it is revealed. And that is exactly, I think, one idea of the Afikoman, right? We're supposed to think of ourselves as being in Egypt, being in exile. Now, we really are in exile now, not in Egypt, but in our own exile. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But let's talk about on a national level. We are in a very challenging time. I don't think it's a stretch to discuss it this year. And that darkness, that challenge, is something that obscures the hope of redemption from us. And I think that the revelation, the revealing of the Afikoman is meant to inspire within us, right, this idea of seeing the revealed Geula, right? Many times, and I think we can all really think about this year in particular, when you're in a challenging time, when we're in the darkness, when we look around and sometimes it seems pretty bleak, it's very hard to see the light. And I think that is the symbol of the Afikoman, right? We know it's somewhere in our house, but at this exact moment, we can't find it. And that's the theme of Seder night, right? The theme of, right, thinking about the Jewish people in slavery, and thinking about the preposterous concept of freedom, right? That's something that they couldn't even imagine, but they did, right? And that, I think, is one of the I think, very powerful messages of Tzafun, of the Afikoman, right? This thing that was hidden the entire Seder. If you remember, we hid it a long time ago. It's probably hours since you've seen that Afikoman, and all of a sudden it is revealed, right? And that is the Geula. The Geula is going to be revealed, even when things are dark, even when we can't see it, one could say when we least expect it, that is when it's going to be revealed. We actually recently, those of you who are doing Daf Yomi, in Masachat Sanhedrin, we're in the last parak, and we've been talking about the redemption a lot. And one I think beautiful idea in the Gemara was that there are things that when you least expect them, that's when they come, right? And one of those things is the redemption, right? When you don't expect it, when it seems that all hope is lost, that's when it's going to come. And a similar idea I brought for you from the Midrash of Tehillim in source number 5, right? It says, Amar Rabbi Abahu b'Rabbi Acha, b'Shem Rabbeinu, Kach hayu Yisrael, netunim b'toch Mitzrayim ke'ubar, shehu natun b'toch me'ah shel behima. Right, so Rabbi Abahu says in the name of Rabbi Acha, in the name of Rabbeinu, Yisrael, right, the Jewish people were like a fetus inside the womb of an animal when they were in Egypt. What does that mean? Ukeshem shaharoeh noten yad betoch me'eha v'shomto kach asa hakadosh baruch hu. Right, that right shene'emar lavo lakachat lo goy mikerev goy. Right, and just like again this image of an animal that is pregnant, and what happens? The shepherd, right? Let's say the animal is having an issue with the delivery, right? The shepherd puts his hand into the womb and it helps the fetus come out, right? So did God, right? This is what God did, right? As it says, right? To take for himself a nation from the midst of another nation. Right? The actual birth of a nation happened in Egypt, and literally, right, one nation came out of another. And I think the image is so powerful because if you think of, right, if you think of pregnancy, whether it's in an animal or in a person, right, 1 minute, right, there's no baby, and the next minute there's a baby. And I can attest that having been for one pregnancy went way longer than it was supposed to, and at a certain point you feel like I don't know, this is like I can't even imagine the you know, I can't even imagine, but like that this is going to end, right? It was so long, and I think that's exactly the image of the Geulah. Right, that's exactly the idea that we feel that right, all is lost. It's hopeless. There is no hope, and all of a sudden, right, Yisrael, right, the Jewish people were born. Right, the nation is born. Okay, another idea is that it could also represent our faith, right? Our faith sometimes is hidden from us. It is, again, when we are faced with challenges, sitting in darkness. And again, I think that the image of Mitzrayim is so vivid, right? If you can imagine the Jewish people sitting in their, you know, in their huts in Egypt, they are freed from slavery, but they're still in Egypt, and they can't even fathom what does it mean to be free? What does it mean to leave Egypt, right? They were all born in servitude and slavery, and to have emunah, to have faith in that moment of darkness and challenge, I think is something that is very challenging, right? Something that is hidden. But I think that the night of Pesach, right, Seder night, is that symbol of anything is possible, right? That even our faith can be revealed. And that, I think, is something that is, again, a symbol of the Afikoman, a symbol of Tzafun, this idea that this matzah was hidden and now it's being revealed. Okay, so this is that was the symbol of, right, hiding, right? We hid the Afikoman and then we found the Afikoman. And now the question is, and we've alluded to it a little bit, right? What is the connection to our future redemption, to the future Geula, right? We know that on Seder night, right, we say in the Haggadah, right, Bechol dor vador, right, in every generation, Chayav Adam leharot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mimitzrayim, right? Every person at the end of Seder night is supposed to feel like he or she left Egypt. And I'll just share something with you. When our children were younger, we used to, I learned this from a few neighbors here in our community of Alon Shvut. We used to actually do Magid in our living room. I don't know about you, but, I grew up that Seder was around the table, right? The table is set with all the china and all the crystal and all the silver, and there's 4 plates and 10 forks and 6 cups, and there's tons of stuff. And I can tell you that as children, I was very good, but, every few minutes someone would say, stop touching that. Don't play with that. Don't touch that. So when I saw this idea, actually, I learned this from a friend when we first moved to Alon Shvut. They would start the Seder off, right? Kiddush or Kadesh was at the table, but then we moved to the living room and we sat on, right, the adults sat on the couch and the kids sat on the mattresses, like on the floor, and it became something very experiential, as I mentioned. In the old days, I used to decorate my living room so it looked like a tent, and the idea was that when we're saying Magid, we're in Egypt. And we would get to the 10 plagues and we would act them out. And then after that, we would make, we would tell all the kids, okay, you have to put on your shoes and put on your sweatshirts. We're leaving Egypt. And we would get up and make everybody, even if we had guests over, we actually left the house. And we would walk around, depending on where we were for Seder, we would walk, through the backyard, come back in. And then, again, depending on how artistic or dramatic you want to make it, we would actually then decorate a hallway in our house as Yam Suf, and we did the splitting of the sea, and everybody had to walk through the sea, and then we would actually have Matan Torah, and we would, act out the receiving of the Torah. And then we would finally come back to the table, and at that point, the table would be decorated with flags of Israel, right? And the idea is you're supposed to feel like you left Egypt and you came to Israel. And it really is an important a feeling. And I could just tell you that from experience, after you do something like that, where it becomes experiential, when you get to the table and you sing Hallel, right? Now you feel like, whoa, I get it. I'm excited. I feel free. And that is really what Seder night is about. And again, like I have to say that I think for this year, it's very challenging. We're in a very difficult, I would say, a difficult time period of Jewish history. And I think that, we need to think about what does the future redemption look like? What does Geula look like? And, we can definitely think about ideas of how to incorporate what's going on right now. Again, I guess it depends on have at your Seder. But listen, for many people, for the hostages that were set free, this is a redemptive night. Bezrat Hashem, it should be a redemptive night for everyone. And I think that is really another theme of Tzafun, right? Of looking towards our redemption, right? It says, source number 6 in Shmot, Lel Shimurim hu LaHashem lahotzi'am me'eretz Mitzrayim, hu halayla hazeh LaHashem shimurim l'chol b'nei Yisrael l'dorotam. Right? This another night, another name for Seder night is Leil Shimurim. It's a night of watchfulness where God, right, watched over the Jewish people and brought us out of Egypt. And it's a night where God is going to watch over all of us, right? All the children of Israel, right? In every generation. And that really is the theme of Tzafun, right? This idea that we are looking towards, right, a revealed redemption. That is what we are looking forward, right? We're looking for that redemption, and right, the Gemara in Masachet Rosh Hashanah, it's interesting because that's more of a Rosh Hashanah shiur, but it says that when there's a machloket when the world was it created in Tishrei when we have Rosh Hashanah, or was it created in Nisan? And I brought for you the second, right? The first opinion is, right, Tishrei. The second opinion is Nisan. And here in Masachet Rosh Hashanah, it says, Rabbi Yoshua Omer b'Nisan nivra ha'olam, right? And a number of other things happened in Nisan. But if you skip down to the end, it says that Rosh Hashanah batla avodah avotinu b'Mitzrayim. On Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish people, right, they stopped being slaves. B'Nisan nig'alu, right, in Nisan, which is the month we are in now. In Nisan, the Jewish people were redeemed, meaning that is Pesach, and b'Nisan atidin ligael, right? And in Nisan, we are be'ezrat Hashem in the future, we are going to be redeemed, right? So night, and what I'd like to say is the theme for Tzafun is this idea of looking towards the future redemption, right? Litzapot means to look forward, to anticipate the redemption. So if the beginning of our Seder, we were looking back in history, right? We were looking at the past, right? Avadim hayinu b'paro b'mitzrayim, right? And in the past, we were slaves. And in the present, we are free, right? There's the theme of freedom, even though unfortunately not everyone is free. But I think that we've gone from the past to the present, and now it's time to look towards the future, right? We are looking towards the national redemption that we are all awaiting. And finally, I think that the last point I'd like to make about the Afikoman and Tzafun, right, is the personal and the national message, right? What are we meant to be thinking about? So I think that on one hand, it's important to think about on a personal level, what is something that is hidden within ourselves that we want to reveal, right? Either to reveal to ourselves, to discover, or something that we know what's hidden inside, but we want to reveal it to other people. So using this idea of the hidden and found, what is something that we can work on that's personal, on a personal level? I think that many of us have, they're called hidden talents for a reason, right? We have something, right? Maybe it's a potential that we feel. Maybe it's a goal that we want to think about, that we want to develop. Maybe it's a characteristic or a value that we want to strengthen, right? And maybe using this, right, this concept of Tzafun, of something as a springboard for inspiration, for thinking about what is something that I want to reveal to other people. Maybe that's something that you can do around the table, right? After you finish eating your afikomen by chatzot, maybe going around the table and asking the people around you, what's something that you want to reveal to other people? What's something that maybe you've kept hidden that you want to share? I think that it's an opportunity, again, if we're thinking about ways to involve the people at our Seder, that could be something that we can work on. So that, I think, is the personal message. The last thing that I wanted to share is a more national message, right? The Sfat Emet, when speaking about Pesach and speaking about Tzafun, right? He says, "V'tam Tzafun hu al shem hageula ha'atida," right? The future redemption. Shehi gnuza v'tzfuna mikol hagluyot, right? This redemption is hidden and concealed throughout all of the exiles. V'lachen achilat afikoman hu zecher lekorban Pesach, shabo nirmaz hageula ha'atida. Right? Therefore, eating the afikoman is, again, reminding us of the Korban Pesach, which alludes to our future redemption. Right? The idea is that right now I can't eat Korban Pesach. Why? Because the temple doesn't exist anymore, right? There isn't an ability to bring the Korban Pesach now, and therefore I have to eat matzah because that is what is available to me. But when I'm eating matzah, if you can, imagine eating a steak, then all of a sudden you're saying, whoa, I can't wait till I can eat a steak for dessert as opposed to this dry matzah, right? Meaning it's meant to inspire in all of us this hope, this spark, this faith in the future redemption, right? That's something that we want to connect to on Seder night. Okay, I want to leave a few minutes for some comments, and I think I did see some comments while I was speaking. So I'm just going to read a few of the comments, and then also if people want to, open up your mics, share something, I'm also happy for any questions. One second. Ilanit asked, Afikoman redemption, this instrument of redemption is actually hidden somewhere in the house. Again, there are a few sources for some of these things, but not everything has a source. Let's see. It is important here. Yoshua was writing about balancing the needs of different participants. It is, I think it is very important to think about the different people that are at your that are at the Seder. I think that, for some, I'll give you an example. We usually have a very long Seder. Last year, we actually were very thankful to have our grandchildren with us, and they are very young. They were, I think, probably 1.5 and 2.5, or 2, like 1 and 2. They were very, and their parents really wanted them to be involved in the Seder, and therefore we actually did pretty short Seder to make sure that they were involved the whole time. So here Yoshua was talking about getting to Tzafun while people are awake. That is I would say a tension. So I think everybody has to think about what their Seder looks like and how we can involve the different people around the table, right? There's no rule that says you have to go till 2:00 in the morning. So that last year when we actually did Magid pretty quickly, so that the kids could be involved all the way through. And then we said, you know what, at the end, we'll sit around after the kids go to sleep, and then we'll talk, more, I would say, more adult conversation about, divrei Torah and sharing things that were a little bit more complex. So I think everyone could really use the Seder night. It's very, I think at least growing up, it was a very formal thing. Nowadays, I think it has become much more, much more fluid, much more, people are much more creative. So I think that hopefully all of you will be able to find their, the perfect way for your Seder. Naomi asked about Tzafun during the time of the Beit HaMikdash. Tzafun during the time of the Beit HaMikdash was eating the Korban Pesach. Meaning, I think a lot of people think that the Korban Pesach was the meal. It was not the meal. Meaning they had, a barbecue. It could have been Korban Chagiga. It could have been a different sacrifice. But they basically ate other food for Shulchan Orech, for the actual meal part. And when they finished the meal, that's when they ate the Korban Pesach. I don't know if you know, but those of you who learned Masechet Pesachim, the Korban Pesach was eaten in a group, meaning the point was you didn't eat, 4 steaks. Everyone had a little bit of the Korban Pesach because, again, it's dessert, right? So we don't want it to be a gluttonous experience. It's meant to be, you're supposed to eat a small amount as dessert. Again, right, the word afikoman literally means dessert. So they were having, in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, they ate from the sacrifice, from the meat. And again, for us, it's eating from the matzah, which is meant to remind us of the Korban Pesach. Okay, does anyone have any other questions or comments? If you've heard anything, different, if you'd like to share, I'm happy to hear other thoughts. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. And
just a quick question. That
yes.
they said that the Korban Pesach was eaten all together. That was in Mitzrayim. But what happened later on? Did they also have to all have the Seder together and eat that together as well, the way they did in Mitzrayim, in Eretz Yisrael?
Yes, excellent question. So the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim describes how people ate the Korban Pesach, and the term that's used is a chabura. It's eaten in groups. So basically, you can decide what that group looks like. It could be one family if you had a lot of people. Again, the idea was you needed to eat the entire animal. So that's a lot of meat. So depending on, how big your goat or sheep was. So it was a number of families together, and you needed to eat it together. The Gemara discusses what does together mean. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the same room, but you had to be able to see each other. So let's say if you were, I guess, think about like in a hotel, if you can see from one table to another, that was enough to be called a group. But you ate it together in groups. The idea was to feel I would say, like that national feeling, right? It's not that it wasn't that all Jewish people ate it together, but it was in small groups in different places throughout Jerusalem, right? Everybody was eating it in Jerusalem together.
Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. Okay, wishing everyone a Chag Kasher V'Sameach. And Be'ezrat Hashem, may we see the redemption very soon. Yes. Do you have a question?
No, I wanted to just say.
Yes?
No. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, wishing everyone Chag Sameach and Be'ezrat Hashem. May we see the redemption very quickly. in our time, very soon. Chag Sameach, everyone.
Chag Sameach.